Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a subscriber interview, one that I have been looking forward to sharing and doing for, to be honest, about a year and a couple of months. Before we get into this interview, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and the membership are in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They all were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost you a cent. Click that like button, it takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And folks, they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into this subscriber interview, shall we? So about a year and a couple of months, I was introduced to a young woman by the name of Brooke who had a TikTok account, and she talked about dogmen and haints in the rural Virginia area. One night, my daughter came running to me and said, Daddy, this girl just said your name on TikTok. And I watched her and listened to some of the things she said, and I reached out and I had her on the show. Just a real nice girl. Brooke and I did about an hour and 30-minute interview. Reshared it just a couple of days ago. And her dad has been listening to the channel before Brooke was even on the show. And he is pretty much the focal point for a lot of her experiences in the area of where they live. And after I shared her experience just recently, because it kind of went unnoticed for a while for some reason, but after I shared her experience just recently, he decided it was time to come on. So I hope you guys enjoy this interview as much as I enjoyed doing it and now sharing it with you. Check it out. All right, everyone. Today I have a guest that I've been aware of for about a year, maybe a year and 2-3 months. I had a young woman on the show. She had or has a TikTok account, and she was on TikTok, shared a lot of her encounters, and had mentioned my name, my channel's name one day, and my daughter brought it up, and I reached out to her. And I had Brooke on the channel. She shared a lot of her experiences, what she had seen, what her family had seen, not a lot of what her family had seen, and then a vocalization that her and her dad caught. Today I have her dad with us. Her dad's name's Dale, and I'm going to introduce you guys to Dale right now. Dale, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm well. I am well. Dale and I have had a chance to talk and, get familiar with each other, and get comfortable with each other prior to the interview. And, I know that he's had a lot of stuff, going on where he lives. Now, where exactly, if you don't have to say like an exact, location, but what state and, do you live in? County, if you're comfortable with.
It's a little place called Wythe County, Virginia.
Okay. All right. And growing up there, when did all of this start for you? Like stories that you heard as a kid. I'll turn the mic over to you at that point right now, and you can kind of fill us in where everything kind of started for you and when you first became aware of Dogman.
All right. Well, when I was growing up, my granny would always warn me about our woods and stuff and tell me to stay out of them, that the boogeyman would get you, or the boogers was down in there or whatnot. I just kind of thought it was something she told us as kids. Well, I do a lot of hunting and stuff, used to when I was younger, and I would notice bent trees or broken trees, little nest-looking things like piled-up brush, and I would hear a lot of what you hear on Bigfoot research channels and stuff. A lot of the sounds, the hoots, the hollers, and the screams. So I just kind of accepted the fact that, hey, they're Bigfoot. Whatever you want to call them, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatnot. I thought these dogmen was misidentified as a Bigfoot. I thought kind of the way somebody was looking at them, they might have been stepping up, and the foot is so big, how the toes pivot on your foot. I always thought, that they were just seeing the foot up in the air, and that was the dog haunch, the haunch leg.
Okay.
Well, never really thought much about the issue. I just thought it was misidentified. Never could get my head wrapped around that there were dogmen.
Before we go any further, did you ever see physically a Bigfoot growing up?
Now, here's the thing. I have a memory. My grandmother, she liked to fish.
Okay.
And she cleaned her own fish. And I remember she was cutting the heads off the fish, and she took them into the house. And I went in with her, and I come out, and there used to be this big grapevine, and it almost looked like a brush pile right beside her house. Well, I come around there, I was maybe, 5, 6 years old, and I come around the corner of the house, and there was a creature standing there about my height. So it would be, maybe 4 foot tall,
right?
4.5 foot tall. Grabbed those fish heads and took off back towards the holler.
Wow. What did it look like? Do you vaguely remember what it looked like?
It was black and his face was hairy. It was not a dog man now that I know. Now I know that it was a Sasquatch. I seen a little juvenile Bigfoot.
That's crazy.
But it's one of those memories that is kind of distorted.
Okay.
I remember getting real upset and running in the house crying and telling my granny there was, and I think I might even called it a booger. There's a booger or something out there. Right. And she come out and there wasn't nothing there, but that's a memory. It's like it's burning to my head.
Yeah.
Of my childhood.
And she probably believed you because the fish head weren't there. It's not like you're gonna, what I mean?
Yeah, she the scale, the backbone and everything where she was flaying the fish, all that was gone. The fish heads was gone. And that was just one of these things, that I kind of put out of my head. And it's one of these memories now that I'm an adult at, it's just kind of there.
Yeah. Wow. That's really intense, I mean, I've had, and I'm sure a lot of us growing up have had those memories, that just stick with us. Something we saw when we were a kid. Like I've had a paranormal thing happen when I was about that age that I will not forget to this day.
Right.
But I could never imagine being a little guy and seeing a young juvenile dog, man. I'd be right in that same boat crying myself.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely different. Only way I can describe it. And the whole Dogman thing come about by accident. And I was on up with my wife and my kids. My youngest son was probably about 3.
Okay.
I was getting him ready for a bath. I'd already put him in the bathtub, got him some toys, got him situated. And I was going back through the house to get the older boy. They're about a year apart, about a year and a half apart. And they take a bath together is what I'm getting at.
Right.
Well, I got about halfway through the house, and I heard Jason come through there, just wide open, squalling, scared.
Wow.
And he was describing something, looking at him through the window. He said, Daddy, it had a snout, it had pointy ears, it was black and gray.
Now, he was the one that was in the bath, or was he the one that you were getting?
No, he was the one that was in the tub.
Yeah, because I remember Brooke.
Wet.
I remember Brooke talking about that experience. Yeah, wow.
Well, he was already wet. When I say he come out of that bathtub, he came out of the bathtub. He was physically in the tub.
Yep.
Taking a bath. He was wet. I mean, he come through the house soaking wet, squalling.
Wow.
So, being dumb, I thought, well, hey, it might have been a coyote. Popped up and looked at him through the window. But what is the odds a coyote would do that? We have a lot of coyote around here.
Right, yeah.
And I got to thinking to myself, I was like, man, what is the odds a coyote would do that? Well, so I just brushed it off. Kid, he seen something, scared him, shadow, whatnot. About 2 weeks later, that's when I realized what the baby had seen. Because I have a garage down on my property. Build race cars and engines and just do generally, it's a man cave.
Right.
Well, I had made a couple trips down through our. Long story short, I'd walk down from my house, walk down to the garage. I have a certain deer that would come about every evening. And she would stand about the same place, and I'd talk to her. I would tell her she's pretty and all that, just a little old deer. Well, I had walked down to the garage, stayed in there, fooled around maybe 30 minutes. I come back out. She was still standing there. So I looked at her, and I may have talked to her, may have spoke to her a little bit, and I walked on back up to my house. I went up. I think I went to get me a pack of cigarettes. I got me a pack of cigarettes, come back down, and this is about let's say a 75-yard stretch there between the garage and the house.
Okay.
I went up there, got me a pack of cigarettes and whatnot, and I come back down through there, and she was still standing there.
And it's dark. Yeah. It's dark, right?
Yeah, it was starting to just get dark.
Okay.
Just dark enough to where you can't really make out what it exactly was.
Yep.
And I took it as that's my deer's. Because I believe it was on its haunches. And this will make sense to you when I tell you what happens. So I walked on by the garage. I paid it some attention. I walked into the garage. I stayed maybe 10, 15 more minutes. And I come back. I was going back up to my house. And I looked at her like, you still here, girl? And I stopped dead in my tracks because it was a lit night. The moon was bright. You could see, but not features. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And some just didn't look right. I seen big, black-looking eyes. And I seen like a little gray in the face. And I stopped dead in my tracks. I turned to it. I took about 2 steps to it. I cocked my head sideways and I said, what are you? About that time, that sucker flowed down like a snake and went down behind an old cop car we've got sitting on the property, down the passenger side of it. From from the back down the passenger side. So I'm like, oh, damn, what was that? So I walked on up to it because I don't know if I was just dumb or in shock. I did not know what this was. So I leaned up the passenger side, and it was not there. And I sidestepped to the driver's side and leaned up, looked up the driver's side. Nothing was there. And I thought to myself, well, hey, man, this thing is playing with me. This thing is really smart. It's going to wait for me to get out of sight, and it's going to take off because that's what I would do. So I literally backed up about 10 yards back, walking backwards, turned around, briskly walked to my house, walked up on the steps like I normally would, walked right straight to my door, but instead of going through the door, I shot down the side of my house to the end of the porch and stuck my head out the corner. That's when I seen the thing going on all fours right up this little, I guess you call it a little road. It goes right through the middle of our field. I keep mowed to walk, and I'm actually on it just to walk around and talk and be on the property without disturbing the hay.
Okay.
It was going up that. And at that time, only part of the field was cut. Well, it was on all fours going up that little road, and it looked like it was like 6 to 8 inches off the ground. I could literally see the elbows of the front legs. It was weird how it moved. I could see the tail. The tail looked as long as it. Well, it got to the top of that road right where everything was nice and mowed, and it went to cross that another little road that ties into it, and then it would go into the part of the field that was not cut, and it had hay standing about to my chest, so say about 4 foot tall hay. Well, it got to the hay, and that thing stood up, dude, and I watched it walk out of sight down over the little hill down into our woods, and I could see the ears from the moonlight. It blew my mind.
Yeah, wow. I remember Brooke talking about the police car and you seeing it, but she didn't get into such detail because obviously she was going off of what you had seen. When it stood up, how high above the hayfield was it?
I'd say this critter was about 6 foot tall, not counting his ears.
Okay.
He wasn't what you would call lanky, but his mass matched his body, if that makes sense.
Okay. Stocky?
Now,
pretty stocky?
Yeah, I say it'd be kind of built like how a greyhound would be, lean, but you know what I'm saying?
Yep, muscular but lean, like you said, lean. Yeah.
Right, and big barrel chest, kinda. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yep.
But I will say, well, I missed a part there. When I was leaning up the cop car, looking up the passenger side, I kept feeling like something was behind me. So I turned around, and there's a wood pile there. And that's all it was there. There was a wood pile, but I felt like something was behind me. And then I thought to myself, well, you just exposed your back to whatever this is at the car. So I spun back around, and that's when I started to back up and back out of the situation. Well, about a year and a half later, I know why. There's two of them. We burn wood in the winter. I come out probably about 10 o'clock, grab an armload of wood, just to grab another armload of wood, just basically went out, got some wood.
Yep.
I heard an odd sound. It wasn't like a growl, and it wasn't quite a grunt. It was kind of like a chest sound. And I had a little bitty rinky-dink little light about the size of my pinky, just enough to see. And I threw them lights up, and we have an old Farmall 504 International tractor. It's not like a great big tractor, but it's not a small tractor.
Yeah.
The fenders on it I'm about 5'9", and the fenders, I can lay my chin on the fender. Well, I shined the light over there towards the tractor where I heard the sound, and there was a set of eyes about 6 to 8 inches above the fender. And a few feet behind it was another set of eyes, and both of these eyes was probably, give or take, about 6.5, 7 foot off the ground. And when I was looking at it, they literally started backing up and backed up about 5 feet and turned and walked off back towards the woods. There's no deer that's going to do that.
No.
And, I try to be a reasonable guy. I'm like, could that have been deer? Because the light wasn't powerful enough to illuminate everything but the eyes. Well, the next day when I went over there to the tractor, I'm like, the eyes was up here over the fender. Even a deer would have to jump up, put his hooves on the tire to do this. And they're not going to do that, dude. I mean, that's just it.
Yeah. Wow.
But it makes sense why I felt like something was behind me that night, because these two travel in a pair, and I know that now.
Yeah. Almost like one was. Did you feel like you were in danger? I mean, because it seems like, one would be kind of in front of you, and that one behind you, almost like leading you to somewhere. Did you feel like that at all?
I'm not going to lie to you. Yes, I was scared that night. I was, but it was kind of, like I said, I guess it might have been being dumb. I wanted to know what this was. But you said, after I realized I could have very well ended up in an ambush, and now that I know that there's 2 of them, and they have got bigger is what I was going to say. They've got bigger from the first time I seen that one.
Okay.
And, but the feeling I get when I know they're here, everything's quiet, and I feel like something is staring a hole through me. And you almost feel like this real bad, scary feeling. And then other nights you can walk out here and there's nothing here. Do that.
Yeah.
And then there's some nights you come out of the house and you feel the eyes on you. And I've heard people, I guess, call it dread. I call it, you can feel maybe the fear, uneasy.
Absolutely.
I don't know what it is.
It's an unsettling feeling. Yeah, it's like, like we were talking earlier, and I said when I was up in the woods the other day, I felt fine at one point, but I got to this location and everything just really didn't feel good. It was a very unsettling feeling.
Right. And just, to talk about it, it still brings hair up on my arms that night to think about that night. Like when you re-uploaded Brooke's story a few nights ago. Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is it really brought up a lot of memories, and I guess that's the reason I wanted to go ahead and contact you and get it off my chest.
Yeah, well, I do appreciate it. That night that you guys were out there recording, because at the end of the interview with Brooke, I had attached that recording that you guys had gotten.
Yeah.
How did that come to play?
Average night. We'd go out at a certain time. From about 10 o'clock on out, that's when they start their little hollering and hooping and whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
By about 2, 3 a.m., it's full-blown Jurassic Park around here.
Wow. Yeah.
You can hear Bigfoot's hollering from a certain spot. Well, the name of the place is called Foster Falls.
Okay.
You hear them hollering there. It's a couple miles from me, but you can hear the Bigfoots hollering over Foster Falls all the time. And down here on New River, you can hear them hollering.
Yeah,
I did want to say one thing.
Yes, sir.
About Victor.
Yep.
I don't know how people take him as face value or what, but I will say this. When he said they was calling the Dogman in to dispose of them
Yep.
through the Blue Ridge Mountains, he said it would run all the wildlife and all the bear and stuff down out of the hills.
Yeah.
I crap you not, man. We started having major bears around this neighborhood coming down out of the mountains. Now, I'll vouch for that because you don't really see a lot of them. Well, it was like a light switch was flipped, man. When you aired that, I started seeing, we seen about 15 bears. Man.
You know, that's not the first time I heard that, because there's another guy that I had on, I don't remember the exact location of Virginia that he was in, but he was he worked with the police department for a search and rescue unit, separate obviously from the police department. And he had talked exactly about what you just said there. You know when these things are around because the animals that you know are in the woods up on the hills, you know they're up there, but you don't see them. When they start coming down, something's up.
Right.
Yeah.
And he said it would drive the bear out of the mountains and stuff like that. And I'd be daggone if I didn't start seeing a major uptick in bear.
Wow.
And they would not want to go back that direction. They were going the opposite direction of the Blue Ridge.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of people, the Blue Ridge is a notorious hot spot for these things. And I don't like using that word hot spot because I think they travel, you know, they like to travel. I don't think they migrate. I just think they're nomadic, you know, like Indian tribes back in the day. They would just travel with the food went, you know, and yeah, it's pretty insane.
Now, what I've noticed around here about this time of the year during hunting season and everything, Bigfoot tend to be more vocal, and you tend to hear them more around this time of the year.
Okay.
And the Dogmen seem like they would go away. But the past couple of years, it has not been that. That's not happened. The Bigfoots come in and started hollering. The Dogman has not left.
Okay.
They don't go nowhere. I don't know exactly where they are, but they're around my area. I think they stay on my property sometimes because they're in my woods a lot.
Yeah.
I think they have a den around here somewhere. I think it's on the back side of the cliff, right? Runs right beside New River Trail, right beside New River.
Okay. There's
a big rock cliff back here, eat up with caves. And we also have what's called the lead mines around here. It's just a whole mining town over in like Austinville. They had the lead mines.
Yeah, and they definitely like
tunnels everywhere around here. There's plenty of places for them to live.
Yeah, plenty of food, plenty of water, plenty of places to, hide out or live. Have you ever seen them? Now, when we were talking, you said you've had a lot of coyote in the area. Obviously, like when your son was in the bath and you thought, oh, maybe it was a coyote. Have you ever seen them travel with the coyote, or at night, like when you said it was like Jurassic Park and you could hear them, all the vocal?
You could definitely hear different sounds in coyote pipe. Sometimes it sounds like a coyote, but a little bit bigger, but a little bit just beefier.
Okay.
And then sometimes you'll hear coyotes letting a rip of something, will holler out, and they'll shut up.
Huh.
And the dogs in the neighborhood will go off. But it's not uncommon for something to chime in with the normal coyotes that you can tell it just isn't right.
Right. You can feel that kind of off-putting. You can hear it. Something's not, what a coyote sounds like, especially if you've lived on your land as long as you have, and you're used to the coyote, and then you hear something different. You're like, that's not a coyote. That's something else. And you can definitely tell between the Bigfoot and that. Yeah, that's crazy. You had mentioned, we were talking about Tazewell and stuff, and you kind of laid or gave a lot of what DJ said. You gave it a foundation of credence, because you had heard one of the encounters he had shared directly from the source before I even shared it.
Yep. I'm not sure who the fellow's name was, but the encounter here in like Sylvatus.
Yep.
That's right up the road from me. I'd heard about the hunter who had the Dogman take the turkey from him, come out, took a turkey, took off. And if I'm not mistaken, they had also had a horse attacked up there. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I know where they're at, just past the quarry.
Okay, yeah.
And I'd heard it from, there's a little, it's a little gem mine.
Okay.
Near our area. And he had told that fella, and he had relayed it to me, and then I heard you tell it a couple months later, and I was just like, wow. But I know exactly where all it happened. The way he described the area, I know exactly where they're at. What road they're talking about, it goes up in that mountain and everything.
Yeah.
The main highway goes right in between goes right through the middle of their property.
That's incredible. Now, you, the town you live in and the folk that like when you had said your grandma warned you about, the booger, and, I had mentioned what the old timers used to call, and they'd say catamount and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Growing up, did you hear a lot of people talk about these things, whether it be the Bigfoot or the Dogman or whatnot? Was there a lot of...
Just my grandmother. She would always say those strange things about there's things down in them woods, or there's boogers down in them woods, the boogeyman will get you. Just my grandmother.
Okay. All right.
When the Bigfoot started hollering real good around here, there was a few people talking down at one of the local stores that used to be down the road here. And there was a little bit of people talking about hearing them over in Foster Falls all the time.
Okay.
And other than that, no, that's about it. Because you feel about half backwards talking about it.
Right, yeah.
And there's only a few people I actually talk or feel comfortable enough to even tell my story. And just be honest with you, like I said, I like how you do things, and I wanted to share with you.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. You
got my daughter good, man, so.
Yeah, I had a great time talking with Brooke. She's a great person. Before we end the upload or interview, I wanted to ask you, you had mentioned, and you don't need to mention names or anything. Obviously, you know how I do things because you listen to the show. But you have a buddy who doesn't like going out at night. Can you share a little bit about what he saw, what occurred for him not to be? And then that was in your vicinity as well, right?
Yeah, sure. That's just right down the road a click from me. Basically, it's the same story. He grew up knowing there was big feet, and knowing that he had a booger running around there. They'd seen him. They hear him holler all the time. He says he's pretty sure he knows where he holds up at. He just grew accustomed to it, kind of like I did.
Yeah.
Well, he had encounter with one of these walking wolves one night, and he mentioned its eyes was red. Now, that's where mine won. Mine had kind of like almost like a babyish blue with a gray tint to them under the moonlight.
Okay.
Now, he said this one screeches and screams and hollers at him, growls at him, and has red eyes. I'm like, well, buddy, that's a Dogman. He said, I don't know what it is, but I don't go outside after night. It's kind of rattled him.
Yeah.
And one thing about this area that other boy touched on, like I said, I'm pretty sure he's from my same town here. Men around here is built different, and it takes a lot to rattle them.
Yeah.
Now, I guess it's like your other average places. You got your good guys, you got your bad guys, and then you've got people still living the old way and tough as nails. And when things rattle people like this, you don't play with them. You don't want to go hunting these things.
Yeah.
Because I can promise you, you're not hunting them.
No, most definitely not.
In them woods.
Yeah, most definitely
But,
not.
I mean, as far as that, he had an experience with one, and it keeps him hemmed up at nighttime. Once it starts getting dark, he folds up. Me, I've got to keep a watch on my property. I've got to keep a watch on my livestock. I've got no choice. I have to go out at night.
Right. Yeah. That's what Brooke said.
I don't play with them. I'm aware. I don't play with them. That's all I can say.
Yep. Have you lost livestock at all?
I've lost a few. I've lost cats. I've lost ducks. And I've went extra precaution now. They're under lock and key, all of them. Pretty heavy-duty built little coops here. It would take something to really crack it. They could crack them, no problem, but you know what I'm saying. By the time it cracks a coop, I should be there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a little more heavy-duty than the average coop.
Yeah, you got chicken houses made out of 2x6s.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, 4x4s for corner posts.
Yeah, you're going to hear something trying to get into that.
Yeah, right. And, I mean, this is just a drop in the bucket. There's stuff that goes on. I probably forgot more stuff than I can tell you. I've lived with it so long, like the growls and thumping on the house and everything I took as a Bigfoot behavior before I was aware of these.
Yeah, we were talking about the complete misidentification that you had, thinking that was, thinking of Dogman was a Bigfoot. And, like I had said, Coonbo Baker said the same thing. He had to go back years and realize what he saw. But that's real. I like what you said about not going to hunt these things because you aren't the hunter, and you learned firsthand that one night where you thought you saw that and then you realized there was another one behind you. They're that tactical and that intelligent that they can, move without you knowing and lead you into a trap.
I think these things can see in the dark.
Yep.
I think they can see in the dark as good as we see in the day.
Yeah.
Because I've heard them bust through these woods at night, and I'd like to see the man that could take off running through my woods at a full sprint for more than 5 yards without hitting something and knocking himself out.
Right.
Or going through a brush pile. There's just so many things that has happened that me and you could probably talk for 2 days.
Wow.
And like tree breaks, I've got I've got a pretty good picture that I'd like to show you one day.
Yeah, I'd love to see some stuff if you don't mind.
I'm pretty sure it's a Bigfoot, but I think I have a picture of one. And you don't have to put none of that in or nothing like that, but yeah.
That sounds great. That's awesome. Listen, I had a blast talking with you. I'm glad, it was great because I really wanted to share Brooke's experience again. Because like I said in the beginning of the video, I thought it would get a lot more views than it did the first time I put it out. Actually, the second time I shared it, it got more views than the first time.
Right.
And she shared a lot of information with us. And I just, right when you said about your son being in the bath, it was just, a flood of just, wow, I can't, it just really a great, because he was terrified, she really said, and that the video, or not the video, the audio of you and Brooke when you guys recorded that night was just, you can hear you guys talking, and it was so intense. I might include that clip with this upload. But it was great talking with you. I appreciate talking. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to share this with us. I know you went outside and went up the hill just to get away from your animals because you're worried about them making noise. So, but
I will tell you this before we get off the phone.
Yes, sir.
That boy is 8 years old now.
Okay.
He can still tell you what he's seen, and his story hasn't changed. And the youngin still won't go and use the bathroom by himself.
Wow.
And he was about 3 when it happened. And I literally have to walk with him to the bathroom and stand outside the bathroom and let the boy go urinate or whatnot, because he's so afraid that he's going to see something in that window again, which I've got blinds and curtains and stuff,
Yep.
That night they wasn't drawn.
Yeah.
I mean, they was wide open. But there's just a few things that I still got to do. And that's one of them. He's 8 years old, and I've got to stand outside the bathroom door.
Yeah, hopefully that changes. Maybe talk with him a little bit, let him know about, what these things are, and, that chances are he might not ever see one in the bathroom window again, but if he does, that he's, at least he's inside and he's safe, as safe as he can be. But yeah, that's sad. That poor little guy. I can't. It really bothers me when kids get messed up because of these things. I don't like that.
And my 2 boys are aware of them. They know they are a fact of life. Now, I don't hide it from which, how do you hide something from someone that's already seen something?
Yeah.
And you're going to convince them they're not real. That's like me telling you didn't see that.
Yep. That's what the government does to us. That's exactly what the government tries to do to us on a daily basis, that these things don't exist. These things don't exist. You'd be just just what the government is doing to us, you'd be doing to your kids. So you might as well, exactly right. You can't hide something that they've seen and they know exists, and they, I'm sure they've heard you talk about it. Yeah, just keep them informed. That's the safest thing that you can do.
I'll call their bluff and let them meet one. Hey, man, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. Do me a favor. Don't hang up. I'm going to hit the end button on this, but I want to talk to you for a minute before we end this. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the audience before we do end, though?
Just don't play with them.
Yeah. Sound advice. Hang on 1 second, and I'll talk to you for a second before you hang up.
All right, man.
I can feel it. I don't know what the fuck it is. I'm just hoping and praying that this damn phone got it. I think it's a foot, cause there's nothing. Even dogs is like, these dogs in this neighborhood goes crazy over anything. Yeah, that's a weird damn owl, whatever it is. The coyotes went off. But other than that, I don't care how cold it is out there. I want to just wait on it.
All right, guys, that was the audio that Brooke had shared with us, and I wanted to include it in this because that's Dale and Brooke talking right there, recording what they believe is Dogman. Very chilling. You know, I really have been looking forward to talking with Dale since interviewing Brooke. And if you guys remember Brooke's interview, she mentioned her little brother's encounter. And that was the first thing that he opened the gate with, was his little boy in the bathtub and a dog man peering in, looking at him. And that little boy is still traumatized to this day, 5 years later. Dale is just a real nice guy. And I really am glad that he finally decided to come on. You know, he was kind of hesitant because of his accent. And I was like, you know, Dale, you're good. You sound fine. People are going to understand what you're saying. And he didn't really feel like his encounter was, you know, up to par. And I said, you know, that's one of my pet peeves, is when people say that. I said, because any encounter is terrifying with these creatures. And it really messes your mind up. Because from such an early age of our childhood, we are told monsters don't exist. And here we are, years later, knowing that monsters exist. Anyway, guys, thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for giving Dale a platform to share his experience. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really do. With that, thank you for all of your support. Your support is what makes this channel so special. The community you guys have in the comment section is truly amazing. And you help make this channel grow and go every day. So thanks. Guys, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant. Keep an eye on the children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They're out there, and they are dangerous. God bless you all.